Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm for Classic and welcome to BenchART. So today we are here again to try out the GTX 1650 Super, this time around on Atomfall. This game is developed by Rebellion, the same guys behind Sniper Elite, and it's still using their in-house engine, which I believe it's good news for some, bad news for others, which is their Zotac engine. So first of all, I'm starting with obviously like the usual. I'm starting with 1080p evo settings. This looks honestly pretty bad. It lacks a lot of shading. I'm not talking about shadows, but shading. It lacks ambient occlusion. Um, it lacks a lot of those type of effects that this game tries to rely a lot. This is still very old generation. This game it is going to, or it is released on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, I guess, and also the series consoles. So yeah, it's a cross-gen title, basically, where most of the visual feature set seems to be still on the PS4 era. Now, the thing is, for many people, this will be cool because it's a very lightweight game. It's very easy to run. I will talk a little bit more about the performance of the 1650 Super, but basically it's a much more easier to run than I was expecting. I was even expecting to have issues with VRAM, but honestly it's not really the case for this game, which is actually surprising. And yeah, it does run good, but at the low settings, it also looks pretty bad. But the performance is really great. I thought that we were about to have performance issues with the VRAM because if you go to the Steam page, you'll see that the minimum requirements for this game it is a 2060 with the 6 gigabytes of VRAM. So I thought to myself, this is going to use a lot of VRAM. And I saw that even PS5 doesn't have the highest textures compared to the PC. And that's how I checked other websites throughout the web where ultra settings does use more than 10 gigabytes of VRAM. But to my surprise, on the 1650 Super, for some reason, it handles really well. I wasn't really expecting that I was able to use medium textures. We are even able to use high textures in this game without having any issues, at least not on the sequences that I did try. So we are actually now seeing 1080p median settings, and this is where the game starts to look as it should. In my opinion, the best settings for you to play with the 1650 Super, it will be either median or either high settings or something in between. Basically, 1080p median settings provides you an experience easily above 60 frames per second. This is in the open world area, which is more demanding, and I took a little bit a small time to search for a demanding area like with a lot of woods, water, and grass, which seems to be more demanding. But you will have a lot of dungeons to explore, and just like Skyrim, the dungeons are much more lightweight than the open world areas. So this is kind of more and less the worst case scenario that you can get. And as you can see, even at median settings, we are having an experience above 60 frames per second with ease. And VRAM, it is pretty good. Look at this. It's 3.5 with a dedicated usage of 2.8. So we are near the limit of the VRAM, but we are not there yet. And yeah, textures are nothing special, but it doesn't look like a potato. All right. So one of the complaints that you might have, which this is the reason why I was telling you that some people might like it and some people might not like it, is that this game doesn't support any temporal anti-aliasing. So what do I mean by this? There is no TAA, there is no DLSS, there is no FSR, there is no Intel XeSS. There is nothing and none of these options because there is no temporal implementation of anti-aliasing. The only type of anti-aliasing that we are getting in here, it should be something like an FXAA or SMAA. I can't really tell for sure. So, high settings. Like I told you, median settings looks pretty good. It plays very well above 60. The high settings, on the other hand, it isn't there it isn't as good in that sense. I mean, um, we do get sometimes a frame rate above 60, but in some other scenes you get like 50. Of course, inside dungeons it's pretty easy to run, but in the open world you can expect the frame rate to drop to 50s or sometimes even lower than that. I think this is no issue if you have a variable refresh rate screen like a G-Sync screen or something, but like most other people don't have that. If you want to have a very stable experience above 60 or something, or a locked out V-Sync, you won't be getting it with 1080p high. I was playing a little bit, and for me, my best settings was to play with the game with 1080p at median settings, and then push the textures to high. I wasn't really expecting to be able to do that, and I didn't encounter any issues. I didn't encounter textures failing to load. I didn't encounter stuttering or anything like it. This game, it is super stable regarding stuttering. There is no stutter in place. It's a big middle finger to Unreal Engine in that sense. And I do, like I said, I do think that median settings, it is good enough for a very good experience, but I just bumped up a little bit the textures to high because I do notice the differences in the texture quality. But if you want to play with the entire settings at the high settings, like I said, you can expect the frame rate to drop below 60. If you are fine with that, just go ahead, use high settings, and if you end up having any issue with the textures at some point, you just need to decrease it to median. I'm pretty sure it should be enough, despite the minimum requirements saying that it is low. And then obviously I decided to try, just for the gags, the ultra settings, which is essentially the maximum settings you can go with. And well, let me just tell you that the VRAM, it is not enough, um, because as you can see, textures are having a, well, a potato quality. This happens because we don't have enough VRAM to fit the textures. So some textures are just high quality like the rocks, the smallest ones, but some others are just entirely broken. So yeah, that's it. Now, talking about other resolutions aside 1440p, aside 1080p, I mean. 1440p low settings. Like I said, low, it's kind of the potato mode. It's not really the type of graphics that you should be enjoying this game. And with this, you can have an experience around 60. So when I say around 60, it contains obviously an experience above 60, but sometimes lower, just like 1080p high settings. Now 14, I would just talk a little bit more forward of the settings that you will see throughout the video if you want, but 1080p median settings, it provides an experience overall above 40, alright, and it does look pretty good in my opinion. There is, I haven't noticed any issues with the textures, although with 1440p high settings, I started to notice a lot of issues with the textures, a little bit different than what we saw at 1080p Ultra. The difference is at 1080p Ultra, the textures were entirely just bad, and at 1440p high settings, it seems like the game was trying to load the high quality textures, but since it didn't fit entirely all the textures, it tries to swap back and forth what the game thinks that you are looking at. So basically, if you pan the camera from like 180 degrees or something like that, you see the textures trying to load in time, swapping from the bad quality ones to the high quality ones. Sometimes there are even moments where you are looking to a wall and the wall is just switching over bad texture quality to high texture quality or something like that. So it's a bad experience. If you want to play at 1440p high settings, consider to decrease the texture quality. Obviously, I didn't try Ultra, given that I was already having issues with 1440p high settings. Sorry. And then to end up, I tried 4K also both settings. And with those settings, I was getting an experience around 30. There was drops below than 30. And textures didn't seem right. Okay, both settings looks like crap, but texture seems to be worse than low. So I assume that there was issues with the VRAM, despite the I mean, the values shown by MSI Afterburner, the overlay, wasn't really full, but it was struggling. I think I had this issue too in Sniper Elite Resistance, which uses the same engine, where 4K it wasn't really loaded in the textures as it should. So, like I said, if I had to recommend a setting for playing this game, I would probably go with 1080p median settings, just for having a rock solid 60 frames per second experience, and then push the textures to high. And if I encounter any issue with the textures because of the VRAM, I would simply decrease it to median. So, I'm not, I don't really know why exactly these guys think that you need a 2060 with 6 gigabytes of VRAM to run this game at a decent experience. I don't really think you need that. I think I saw this type of behavior with the Sniper Elite Resistance, where I think that they asked the same regarding the hardware, and at the end of the day the game was super lightweight. So I don't understand why they put this on their page. Many people will look at those requirements and they will think, oh my god, I can't run that. And that's exactly my reaction when I saw those requirements. And in the end, the game is just super playable. I mean, it's easy to run. It doesn't use any advanced new techniques or something like that. So it's just super easy to run. Super sharp due to not using TAA. For some people this is a blessing, for others like Digital Foundry they are criticizing a lot the game for not having a temporal anti-aliasing solution. For me it's just fine, it's just different, it's a classic. Alright, and I think it's just that. So guys, I think that's all that I want to talk about Atomfall. Hope you did enjoy the video so far. If you want to jump to the 4K or any graphical setting where we have been through, you just have the timestamps at the description of the video. So guys, I think that's all. Thank you a lot for watching, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
Hello. I don't know you, do I? No, I'm sure I don't. Hello. I don't know you, do I? Not seen you around here before. Your lot shouldn't be wondering. That is our own. Well, maybe. My name. You need anything, Molly'll be here.